Joining me today is Mike Redding, Commander-in-Chief from Using Technology Better, a specialised training provider and partner for Microsoft, Apple and Google. UTB delivers tailored training services to corporate, government and educational clients across Australia, New Zealand and Southeast Asia. Thanks for your time today, Mike.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Mike, many small businesses still have very manual operating systems, and one common reason that I believe is that there's so much software available on the market that it can be difficult to know which programs to use. And I thought it would be super helpful for you to share with our audience the software that you believe every small business should have, followed by the nice to haves, and more importantly, how the software can actually improve their business systems, productivity and efficiency without breaking the bank.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that's a very open-ended question. So that's a great way to start. In terms of the best tool for the job, for us, we always ask the question, what are you trying to achieve? So at the end of the day, if you start with a tool, then you're going to end up being a slave to that tool in a sense. So what I would much rather do is wind that question back and say, okay, let's look at your systems, your processes, how you like to collaborate, how you like to work. And then we start to build out a tool or a system that would match that. So, yeah, and I guess there's so many variables to that. Are all your staff in the office? Are you dispersed? Are you working from home? Are you hybrid? So there's a lot of things to consider in that. So maybe just at a high level, do you want to just talk through some principles of
I think so. That's a good place to start.
Yeah. So I think we always look at things in two ways. So the first way is we look at that communication piece. So how do you effectively communicate internally as a company, but then how do you connect with partners or clients, wider community, and so on? And then we try to always find the most efficient way to do that. So I'm sure you see this all the time, and it even happens in our business. And we use a term, eat your own dog food. I'm not sure if you've heard that term, but work the systems that you have created and you're helping create for others. So even for us, with so many lines of communication, messages get missed. You spend too long thinking, where was that? Was it in a document? Was it in a chat message? Was it in an email? Was it on a phone call? Like, how did I come across that information when you're trying to source it again? So anything that we can do to systematize that and streamline that makes a big difference.
I think a lot of you probably have the same experience that we do when you start this process, is that it forces businesses to really look at their systems and realize that a lot of them don't work, or there's different ways of doing the same task, and different departments might approach something in a slightly different way to somebody else, and you end up getting those, obviously, the inconsistencies with outcomes, and that would probably be something that, I guess, is that sort of how the process starts, and then you sort of flesh it out from there as to the best way to approach that process.
And so it's looking at those bottlenecks, those frustrations. Because quite often for us as a training and adoption partner, quite often someone will say, hey, we've got this skills gap, we just need to teach the skill. But what you're doing is you're missing an opportunity to actually fix your process. So quite often your skill level will rise to the process that you've got. You just do what you've always done. But if we can re-engineer the process at the same time as the skill, then you get a much better outcome.
It's very hard to look at your operating systems objectively when you've been doing it the same way for a long time. And a lot of the businesses that we work with who have very successful, businesses and a lot of clients, it's so manual, and a lot of them are still, using paper in some cases, which seems crazy these days, but it still works. It just really, obviously, there's the efficiency's not there. So what sort of, how do you see, companies adopting these new operating systems? What's the impact that it has on their business, and what's that sort of, that A to B journey look like for them?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we start with that communication piece, and then we look at the collaboration piece in that as well. So that
Yeah,
brings in your document storage, your collaboration, so you don't have version 1, version 2, version 3. Someone's working on version 1 when they should have been on version 2. So try to streamline that and bring it together. So if you go down the track, what it does do is it brings together like a bit of a unified solution and a systematized way of working. And then that's great, because if you've got staff churn, you just bring people into, this is the way we do it. But then it's easy for them to go and find that document or find that chat message or find that email, because you've got a process that they get onboarded into. So so we kind of look at the end and then we work back. In terms of what we're seeing in trends at the moment, is I think it's a post-COVID thing in one sense, but and it depends on the business owner. Sometimes it's manual because, like you said, that's the way we've always done it. Or when we went and everyone went lockdowns and remote hybrid working, we just took every tool we could possibly grab our hands on to try and get us to do something. So now, like, we're just dealing with a business. They've got about 60 workers. They've got WebEx, they've got Zoom, they've got Teams. They're not using any of it properly because some are using this for this and some are using it for that. So I think what we're starting to see a trend is just a real consolidation of those tools. Now, one, for licensing and how much you can save for a start, but then two, just that unified solution. And then building out the tools around that. So
we've gone through the same process recently. We just use so many different types of software, and we're not a big business, so when we look at what we're spending, which is tens of thousands of dollars on software licenses, it's incredible how quickly they sneak in, and then you'll have licenses that you've forgotten about and they're just sitting there in the background doing nothing, costing money. So it's been an eye-opening exercise for us. Most businesses are either using Microsoft or Google for that sort of management. So what is it that you provide that I guess really gets them, using those platforms correctly? So what's that? Because obviously we've all sort of got access to those really easily, but I imagine that most businesses use about 10% of their capability. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so for us, that looks a lot like, again, efficient workflows. So that collaboration and communication piece very much looks like a chat unified solution. So if you're using Google, for instance, how are you using chat and spaces to centralize a lot of that communication? Our goal is always to help businesses get out of email. So everybody's email is just somebody else's to-do list. And so really in our world, we like to see that your inbox really should be public facing. It should be external and not internal. And then you shift all your internal communications into Microsoft Teams or into Google and chat and spaces, or maybe they're using Slack or a program like that.
So what are some really good basic apps, easy for businesses to adopt into their business, that can make a really big difference?
I think for small business, we have two that we just go to all the time. So one, you've got your productivity suite. So that'll be your Google or it'll be your Microsoft. And we would encourage businesses just to choose one and then use it for all that it's worth. So you're already paying the licensing. There's so many tools and options and workflows in there that you can really harness, especially in a small business before you start purchasing, bespoke software. So even in Google, you've got smart chips in Google Docs, for instance, that allow you to do very simple project management. Everyone can see where a project's up to if someone's stuck. It's just as simple as dropping a smart chip into a Google Doc. So you don't need to go out and find planning software and project management software, and then you're adding Asana or you're adding Trello and you're adding all these other tools in. Quite often you can get the same outcome just using the tool that you've got.
So how easy is it though for them to do that, I guess? So for me, like that, I like to think that I'm a little bit tech savvy, but I'm probably at a pretty basic level. So I know there's lots of YouTube tutorials out there to help. There's obviously companies like you guys, but yeah, is it an easy thing for a business to sort of navigate themselves? I guess the biggest thing is that you don't know what you don't know. So where's the best place for them to explore those different apps and functionality within the Google or Microsoft?
Yeah. It's not a massive thing. Sometimes people see it in their head as like, oh, it's this big change program, and we're already so strapped and we're so busy that like we can't carve out time. But it really isn't. It could be as simple as 2 90-minute sessions really is enough to get you started, just to see the big picture, see the potential, talk internally about, is it worth it? And then you could roll it out from there. So depending on the size of the staff, but it's not a big change program, to be honest. Even little systems, like, we're talking manual processes in business, but that also means your email, because quite often you'll get the same email from somebody and you'll forward it to, maybe you're an EA and you forward it to the boss, or you send it to the sales team, and that's a manual process. It ends up in your inbox, and you got to open it, read it, click it, send it. All of those micro moments add up to a lot in a day. So just setting up your inbox on autopilot, so it just comes in, the email gets recognized by your automation, automatically forwards it to who it needs to be forwarded to, gets sorted into a folder or a label, and then it's dealt with. You don't need to worry it. Or little things like just learning that you can snooze emails, for instance. So quite often you'll reply to an email and you'll leave that in your inbox as a bit of a reminder to go back to that email and chase that person up if they don't respond. But then there's this cognitive weight that sits on you when you've got this over bloated inbox with all this stuff in there. And especially if it's for us, from a sales point of view, if you've got money sitting in your inbox and you're missing those emails, then that's a big impact on business, right? So just being to have a system where you snooze emails and they boomerang back into your inbox if someone doesn't reply, and the setting up automations like that will have a big impact. But it doesn't take long to set up. And to your point, it's just that you don't know that this is even a possibility, A, as a tool, but B, as a workflow. So
yeah, that's right. And so your team can either teach a business how to do all of this themselves, or you can provide all of that setup for them, can't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, which I think is, I guess for a lot of business owners that are just so time poor and, wearing so many different hats, that, you set aside some time to actually do something, but then it's so easy to get distracted that actually being able to have a business come in and do all of that for you. And you guys are obviously working with us at the moment, helping us with our sort of workflow software and everything, which is life-changing. But yeah, I think that that's probably an option that a lot of businesses would prefer, is to have somebody come in and set it all up remotely and then, teach them how to work it. So I think that's a great approach.
Yeah. And we find there's a whole lot of other options out there. You've got LinkedIn Learning, you got, like you said, you've got YouTube, you've got all these different places. I think there's two problems in a lot of times using those sort of solutions. One is they're out of date. So you just go and watch this YouTube video, but it's wrong, or the workflow is not best practice. It's someone who's just found a tool and put it up there, for instance. So that quality control side of things is lacking. And then two, if you say, if you said to me, oh, Mike, go watch this video, improve your workflows, I'll put it on my to-do list, but it's not going to be a priority. So it just keeps rolling over and over and over, and you never get to it. But if you carve out an hour or an hour and a half, and we're off tools right now, we're focused on this, let's just get it done, then you'll start to see that traction happen a lot faster. So definitely worth the investment.
Yeah, 100%. We've seen such a big change in our business over the years of just introducing more technology and working on our own efficiency and the whole process that we have with our clients. So it's been a game changer and enabled us to scale without significantly increasing our head office, overhead and the number of people that we have. So that's been amazing. So I guess just finally, what's the best advice you could give to any business to I guess get them started on the the process of finding those efficiencies and improving productivity, which really is the sort of, you know, end game for all businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a business owner, if I was talking to myself, one of the things, and again, we have to remind ourselves of this all the time, is just to take the time to put your head up and actually think strategically, and look at those systems, because your systems will make or break you. Especially with AI coming in, we want our staff to be empowered to use AI effectively. We see so many businesses jumping on Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, but to be honest, they're spending more time checking the work that the AI has done for them to make sure it's accurate and right than actually if they had just done the work. So you've got to know the fundamentals of these tools and these systems to be able to add automations into it. So for me, I would just say encourage business owners. It's, you know, there's that adage, work on your business, not in it. And there's so many work-ons that we could be doing right now. Strategic leadership, culture. There's so many things to think about. But to do this, it enables our staff well-being because we're reducing that frustration. It enables efficiency. Hopefully, we can do more with less. So at the end of the day, it really is worth it. Just to think about that from a tools and a systems point of view, and just clutter out all that extra stuff that you don't need.
Yeah,
it's like having a good spring clean out. You'll feel great at the end of it, but you probably won't enjoy it during the time. So
yeah. No, that's so true. Well, thank you so much. That's been really helpful. Yeah, and I'm sure it's got a lot of our audience thinking about their own business systems and how to start approaching those as well. So thank you very much.